Alright guys, in this tutorial I'm basically just going to show you guys how to skin modify a weapon with the CrySkin modifier in 3ds Max. This is going to allow you to use a custom made model. This tutorial actually isn't going to go into depth about how to do custom animations because I haven't got that far yet. I basically just kind of putted around for like 3 hours trying to figure out how to reskin a custom model to work in Crysis 2. The good news is it works significantly different from Crysis 1, from what I understand. The animation file is actually separate from the model file itself. The model file just contains the linking to the bones and not any of the actual animation keys. So this is going to be a little less complicated. So I hope that helps. And then after we do that, we're going to export it and test it in Sandbox 3. And we shall get started. I'm going to be using 3ds Max 2012, 64-bit. I have 3ds Max 9 as well, but I'm having massive SDK plugin support problems, and I am using SDK 1.1. So I'll go ahead and let this load up, and then I'll show you where to go from here. Alrighty, here we go. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open. Now you're going to want to navigate to local disk C, program files x86, Electronic Arts, Crytek, Crysis 2, mods, example assets, game Crysis 2, objects, weapons, US. We're going to do the DSG1 because that's what I've actually tested my theory with, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And now we're going to open up mod dsg1 underscore setup.max. Go ahead and just, it should be, adopt the file gamma and LUT settings should be selected. Go ahead and select OK. It's going to tell you you are missing the gray texture. Just go ahead and hit continue. Okay, first things first, I'm going to go ahead and modify the scenes, I guess you should call them. I'm going to go ahead and change this top one to top, and then the bottom one to front, and the top right to right. I'm going to go ahead and put all these in wireframe. And I'm going to change the orthographic to perspective. And I'm going to leave that on realistic, and I'm going to take edged faces off. Okay, now, for those of you who don't know much about 3ds Max, actually I'm probably sure you do if you've gotten this far. I'm going to go ahead and select by name. And I'm going to select mod dsg1 underscore fp. fp stands for first person. Go ahead and select OK. And now I'm going to right click and hide unselected. And then I'm going to hit Z, which will center it in all my views. Now I'm going to go ahead and maximize that viewport with that little corner in the button. Corner in the button, button in the corner. Alright, now, I'm actually a little lost. Where am I at here? Let me see. Oh, okay. Here's a good thing to note. Scroll down. Once you have, go ahead and if none of that shows up in the right side, just go ahead and click on the weapon. I'm going to scroll down here in the CrySkin modifier until you see this list of bones. Go ahead and write these bones down because you are going to need those. And I will have a reference of them in the description as well, so just in case you don't feel like writing them down, they will be there. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and select that. Well, actually no, don't need to select it. We're going to go ahead and back into view. And we're going to leave that weapon there for now just as a reference because all of our bones are already lined up with this, so we'll just make our little dummy weapon aligned to the model rather than the bones and make it a little easier. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a basic tube. Actually, cylinder, I'm sorry. Let's see here. Let's create it about like that. Let's make it considerably longer. Move it back. Now, I'm not going to be doing fancy modeling because I really don't want to take all day to do this tutorial. So I'm just going to do some basic layouts here. Let's see. Just create a little dummy weapon here. Oop. Another good thing to do when you're lining your model up with the default as a reference is to go ahead and freeze it. That way you can't select it on accident anymore. This is going to be ridiculously terrible, by the way. Let's see. So there's the handle. And we'll go ahead and grab another box for the trigger. Terrible, I tell you, terrible. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Where are we at here? My trigger. Alright, we've got a trigger now. Now I'll go ahead and replicate the mag release. I know, it's bad, it's bad. And here's the magazine. Get not that wide. Alright, now go ahead and I'm going to unfreeze all blah blah blah, yeah, unfreeze it. Now I'm going to hide that. Now there's a basic weapon. For the most part, just proof of concept. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and select our top cylinder. We're going to go over to the Modify tab, right click on the cylinder, right click on cylinder and select Edible Poly. Now scroll down a little bit here and you will see Attach. Go ahead and click Attach by List. Now it's only going to show visible objects unless you have them all hidden. I don't know why I'm talking to you guys like you're first graders. I'm sure if you're attempting this you have some knowledge of 3ds Max. So I'm going to go ahead and attach those. Now, this is important. Definitely go over and reset the X-form. Don't do that until you're completely done tweaking your model, because when you tweak it, you're just going to mess up the X-form anyways. Especially if you scale. If you use the scale tool, forget about it. It's going to be bad news. So, reset X-form is the last thing you want to do. Now, if you notice, you go back over to the Modify tab, you're going to have X-form. I always collapse afterwards. I don't know why, peace of mind, whatever it is. And then go ahead and drop down the modifier list and select CryEngine. Now, oh, this is terrible, we're in a small resolution. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add all the bones. Now, don't forget, here's that list. Weapon, magazine, mag release, trigger, slider. So we're going to go ahead and click Add. And actually, nothing is going to show up. I actually have to unhide all first. Then click Add. Now, here's going to be your bones that you want to add right here. Weapon to trigger. Go ahead and select weapon, shift, select the last, select them all. There you go. Now you got them all on your list. That's the easy way to do it. First things first. Weapon. Actually, hide unselected again. So go ahead and select weapon. Now go ahead and come on up here and click the Edit Envelopes button. And then click the vertices. And make sure Select by Element is checked. That's very important to the processes that I'm going to show you to actually linking the mesh to the bones. Okay, making sure weapon is still selected. Go ahead and scroll down farther, yada yada yada, until you get to weight properties. Go ahead and select this little batch. That didn't work. What happened there? Oh, I know what happened. Before you hit that, hit Control A, which will select all the vertices, then hit the batch. And you'll notice everything turns gray. Basically, we removed all the mesh from the weapon bone, which is important. So now if you notice, whatever you click on, the model isn't turning red. So go ahead and leave weapon selected, and then go ahead and select your weapon. Now, since we have select by element checked, even if we just select these end vertices, it's going to select the whole element, which is very useful, because now I can just select one vertex on the handle and it's going to select the whole thing. Now we're going to go ahead and scroll down, and this is how you actually assign the weights to the bones. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Weight properties. Now this is the only way I've actually gotten this to work. You can use the paint weights tool, but it's not as direct as I was hoping. You can tweak it and modify it, but it's definitely not something that I'm comfortable teaching yet. So once you've selected just your whatever you want to attach to the weapon bone, the vertices, you go ahead and this is the important part. I don't know if rigid needs to be selected, but what? Whoa. That's kind of weird. I don't know why it selected the magazine bone. Anyways, go ahead and select just the handle and the rifle again, and then we're going to take this top arrow and drag it upward. Now if you notice how the weapon that I actually want attached to it is solid red, that's good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to scroll back up here, select magazine. Then you're going to select one of the vertices and it'll select the whole magazine. Now you're going to go ahead and scroll down here and do the same thing here. Drag it up, and if you notice, the whole magazine turns red. I'm actually kind of worried about why that... Oh, okay, good. When I applied it, it got rid of that red part on the magazine. Okay, that's the good news. So the magazine is no longer red when weapon is selected. Okay, now go ahead and select mag release. It decided to go ahead and try and assign itself anyways. So I'm just going to select those and drag up. Now the whole mag release is red. Then I'm going to go over here to... Oop, I forgot to do a slider. Slider is the bolt of the rifle. The actual sliding bolt mechanism. So I forgot to do that. It's not going to hurt as long as nothing is as long as it's not linked to anything, it's not going to deform it that I know of. So then I'll go ahead and go to trigger. I'll select the trigger. And then I will do the weight, same thing again. Drag it up. I just kind of grab the arrow and just pull up. If you notice the little selection there, where it'll go down or up, just drag it up. Even if it already says 1.0, drag it up, because it will actually apply that. Okay, now go ahead and go back over here to the utilities and CryEngine 3 exporter. Now mine's already in the list. Yours might not be in the list already. So actually, I lied. We're doing this wrong. You can go ahead and leave that open, but go ahead and unhide all. Now do the select by name tool again, and select the mod DSU1FP. Select OK. Go ahead and copy the name, and then go ahead and delete. No, I'm sorry. Don't do that. What did I do? You want, before you hit delete, you want to click out of this. You actually want to click on the object again. So I think if you hit enter and then delete, okay, yeah, there it goes. You just want to delete the model. And you can actually delete these LODs too if you want, I think. Nope, probably a bad idea. Don't do that because I haven't tested that. So yeah, just delete the FP. Now, go ahead and select by name again and select your cylinder 01, which is your new weapon. Unhide or hide unselected. There we go. Now, rename it to mod DSU1FP. Hit enter. There we go. Now we can export successfully. With it selected, go ahead and click add selected. It'll add it to the list. And then go ahead and hit export nodes, and it'll ask you, would you like to replace the previous? Yes. It'll say blah 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 blah. It'll flash done, and you're done. And you can go ahead and close that. You want to save your changes? Actually, don't hit yes. Go ahead and hit cancel, then save as. Save it as something different so you don't overwrite your original and mess it up. We'll name this tutorial. Go ahead and close that. Alright, Let's go ahead and open up Sandbox. Alright, once you're in Sandbox, go ahead and make sure your mod's enabled. Mine is already enabled, as you can see, mod example assets. You can go ahead and go to change mod and make sure that that mod is selected. Go ahead and open up any map. I already have a map called weapon test. So I'm going to go ahead and load that up. It's very important that you have the mod loaded, because if you don't, the game will not see your weapon. Blah 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 blah. Okay, game, switch to game. As you can see, I have no weapon right now. I underscore give item MOD capital DSG1. Oh, and looky there, look at that pretty red weapon. You'll notice, let me see. Oh, I can't take my scope off. Interesting. I wonder what I did there. But as you can see, you have the mag release there, you have the trigger there, and the magazine there. Now, if you shoot it, and reload it, look at there. And like I said before, since we're not actually editing any animations, it's actually using the previous DSG1's animations. And I hope that gets you guys started. You should be able to use the SDK documentation for texturing. And I'm assuming animation, there is an animation file in example assets. Let me see. Looks like DSG1 anim. I haven't actually played around with that yet, but I'm assuming it shouldn't be too much harder. So I hope this tutorial helps you guys out, and happy modding.